What helps is if you have a grease pencil and you can draw it out for yourself. I'm just going to do it by feel because I am better at this.
Skilled enough.
Yeah. So I'm going to go, since it's a long one, I'm going to kind of pull it out like this and see. It's all the way back here, but I'm going to give myself a 1/2 inch bleed and only come up to about here. And then over here, same thing. And I know that...
Can you pop these logos? For some people, pop them off.
This is a really heavy duty emblem, and I've never taken off something this big.
Usually those ones will have pegs.
They have pegs, they have all kinds of stuff going on.
So I know sometimes Randy would pop them off with the pegs.
If it's this heavy,
and then put it back.
Yeah, you can do it.
it's probably got screws in it. Yeah. My front bumper, you can do that because it's just a silver chrome thing.
Well, because like on the tailgate, like the screws are in the tailgate.
Yeah, you can access it.
A good rule of thumb is if it takes more than 5 minutes to take off, you should just trim around it. If trimming isn't going to take you forever, right?
Yeah.
Some things are far too complex to leave up to.
So you'd be peeling the whole back and stretching it?
Yeah, so since I have you guys to help me, I don't need to do fancy tricks to get around that really annoying
So this side you want...
being alone thing. So everything else isn't really high enough to cause a problem. The thing is, once you pull the backing on this, now you've got a hole and the tension has all been cut so that the tension is weird now, it's not uniform. But that doesn't matter because we're not going to mess it up. We're going to do really good. Okay, cool. As soon as this is off, it's going to be sucking all kinds of dirt onto itself. Try really hard not to shuffle your feet to kick up the dirt and stuff. Try hard not to have a fan going. This bed should be sand free, right? Because it'll pick up all that dirt whether or not you touch it. So Joe's going to help us guide that on. Yeah, and you know what? If you touch it, sorry, it's twisted a little bit, Ricky, so lower your edge a little bit. Yeah, there we go. Clear, just so you're clearing the box here. Okay, so I'm just going to tack my side. Don't do anything yet. It does look like I almost didn't leave enough bleed, but that's also because this hole gets bigger as soon as you move attention. And since I know I want that to come down a little closer. So now what we want to do, I didn't really take a picture of it the before, but I think that there's a channel. This is, so now I've just taken care of this much height. There's a lot of height that I've sunk it back to the truck, so it's a lot more likely that I'll be able to tent it with no problems. Tenting it all the way around might actually not be ideal right now. If you're having too much tension, just start your tent farther away. And pull yourself a little glass. But one of the problems is these channels keep showing up and screwing with so I'm going to try and tent without having to go into that channel. Okay, in other words, oops, I can pop this up later and fix that. But
because you're at the handle now.
Yeah, that's the handle. So feeding, like I was telling Joe, trying to go around something like this, but feeding something in like this, it's too many complex things coming together. So we'll have to be really careful. I still want to get this lower, but maybe if I go into the channel properly, I'm going to be fighting all those wrinkles this way, which is not ideal. But this looks really glassy. So I know this is all going to lay down. So before I try to tent it all, I'm going to work it back and forth because we want to go up into those channels in straight lines. So I'm going to go this way, right across my nice, ignore that obstacle for now. I'm going to go straight this way and I'm going to treat this like two different signs right now. Cut it, so I'm cutting it in half with my tension line.
Yeah.
So I can work down and I can work up. It's not necessarily going to mess with each other. And I'm going to go around this obstacle as though it doesn't exist as well. The problem with that is we might have to touch it, but I can also see the tension lines. Watch out, Joe. The tension lines are going this way right now, which means there isn't too much material up here. There isn't wrinkles gathering up waiting to cause a storm. So I'm pretty sure if I just keep working it around the door handle, it'll be okay. I'm just reading the wrinkles as I go. Because the door handle is high, but it also goes into this kind of shape.
Yeah, it goes up.
Yeah, so the tailgate is almost causing some of that tension to feed in. I have somewhere to feed it in. So if this is high, there's somewhere for the wrinkles to go still. So yeah, try working it across.
In that channel?
So there was, yeah, working it up and into here. And it can be dangerous. Since there's a big obstacle right here, it can be dangerous to just work up because you might just not be able to close that gap. But I think it's going to be okay from how I'm looking at it. Okay, you want to do?
So we can just go up from here, Maggie?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because you want this line
So you just get in
to not tent and to not, you don't want to work it like this because then you like wrinkles all the way across.
Yeah.
Like if you can do it all in a straight line right up to this line, you won't have weird
So
angles.
like, this should be fine though, you said?
That looks like it should be fine. What I could do is cut it out, but I'm afraid to do that because it's always easier to tent if you don't have to cut anything. That's why I was being so careful with it. Anytime you make a cut, you're ruining the uniformity of your whole tension landscape.
Sorry, I just butted you.
No worries.
You lean that way, I lean this way.
And I have a bigger butt now too. Everything's growing. It's just growing at an alarming rate.
There's a lot of dirt right here.
Where?
Look.
Yeah, so that's actually falling from in here even though I cleaned it. That's super annoying. So to try to like, I don't know, not touch it as much. You can also peel back a little bit and just try to brush off some of that. I'll do that sometimes just to, even if you get really proud of it, it'll be that much nicer. These are not too big of pieces. So now I see these wrinkles gathering up here trying to cause a storm. Technically, this can be my exit, this handle, because when I cut it out, I can pull from the center.
Yeah.
That will help. But first I'm going to try pulling straight over top of it because I don't really want to have to pull from two directions. That sounds like extra work. There, see, I got it tented. All of that can work out either way. I'm gonna get a little video of it. Yeah, so that's a hard wrinkle. It's unhappy. It's not gonna roll out. So you can just pull it back and try to squeegee back down, but look how much pressure I'm putting in with my fingertips. I just created more stretch, so just heat it out. Yeah, it's right there. And that way we don't have to try and force out something that we know can be done easily. I'm gonna take those out because I know they will come out. There's a big old bubble that you trapped in there.
Nope, wasn't me. Do you want
so-
me to release it, or should I try?
Once I cut this, then we can, just a little bridge there, we can pop that up. But yeah, try to work straight out so that you never end up with air trapped. It's too big of a bubble to work out in the air egress is part of the problem. But yeah, look, see how friendly that is now? There's no wrinkles, just go straight in.
So what do we do around this?
We're gonna do kind of what we did here. We're gonna work it down until I see issues, until it, in other words, it's possible for me to pull glass and tent it.
How close do you want me to
Basically
work
as close as it'll let you. So now I see, you know, I get about that close and it starts to want to fight me. So I'm just gonna leave it alone. It doesn't, we don't want to fight. We're gonna let it have its space. Because the tension here is telling you that the object is too high to force the vinyl in anymore.
Yeah.
So that we either have to pop back tension or cut more material.
I guess you won't see all that dirt once.
No, that's nice because once it sways back like this, it kind of creates a shadow. Natural shadows do a lot to deal with your little issues, like at the bottom of the door, you're not going to see tiny wrinkles, that sort of thing. Yeah, so actually, this channel is not going to fight you to tent this because it stops being an issue about here. And the next channel is way down here. So you can tent that down the road. I can already tell, so that's good. Yeah, so try to cut the head off of your wrinkles. Uh-oh, you made a wrinkle. So go a little farther away and apply a little more pulling force, and then you can create glass. Yeah, and that creates a nice landscape. So now you've got these wrinkles. So pull a triangle this way and work your channel in and work until you can tent that object.
Like that?
Yeah. Don't get ahead of yourself though. Start up here where the air is and work your channel in first. Heat until you absolutely don't have any extra stretch you shouldn't have to worry, you shouldn't have to deal with. And it might actually help to pull it while it's a touch warm. Yeah. And you can see that glass wants to form. So you pull this way and you pull this way. Yeah, there you go. Now it's looking kind of flat, but see how it's still fighting? Just about there. Here. So create a little bit of space for yourself. A little more this way. There, see? Now you have a tent. And all of this, so from this point on, if there's a problem, you pop it up only to here and you can pull that out. Yeah. And you can do that all the way around here, but these wrinkles will come out. You have a route, exit route, and these have an exit route up. There's a lot of tension in here, but I'll trim that back a little bit, right, so it lays in.
Sinks in better.
But yeah, that was a bit of a tough one because it didn't want to tent. So we had to adjust and we had to heat and we had to try again. Now it's laying down. So if there's too much over here and this one's kind of crying for water over here, you can actually help it by like feeding your excess away from the problem area into the tight areas, right? That's called guiding your vinyl. And you have that extra problem over there to feed it, but also to tent this dumb thing in your way. So keep that in mind as you go, but I think it should be fine. Yeah, so you should take some of that your way.
Except for Joe keeps lifting it.
Yeah, Joe. WTF. Yeah, and it wants to bunch up. Oh, yeah, and then you have the chat, of course, as soon as you get some progress, a channel shows up, but that's okay because we have basically a straight line, so we're not coming at it at weird angles. We're just going to try and go down and work our wrinkles side to side so that they stop. So you can see there's a smile here, and then there's a weird and then there's a smile here. So try to feed this way so that you're evening out where your tension is sitting. And then you have to go down into the channel at the same time, and that's kind of a pain, but it's good practice. Sometimes there's a lot of wrinkles that are just taking too much effort to push out because it's cold. If it's too cold or too hot, your vinyl can not be at the right malleability. Malleability? Malleableness.
I did just heat that, so it'll be a little bit. I was just like,
yeah.
Cool.
Sorry.
It's tempting though, right? When it's hot, it's like, oh, now it's gonna do what I say.
No, I didn't know.
You might have to cut it back a little bit, feed it in, cut it back, feed it in. If you have to cut it back multiple times, it sucks, but sometimes it helps. So I'm gonna do it in this shape. Because that's where my tension is. And I'm gonna, you can hear it squeaking. I'm gonna do it a little more because that comes out so far. It's really hard to predict where exactly it will end. And it's hard to predict if I'm gonna cut too far into here, then I'll be short there, so I'm gonna try and avoid that. All of that tension is letting up now. And since this channel is in my way too, I'm gonna be doing that at the same time. But see, now I'm getting ahead of myself. These wrinkles all want to, I'm starting on the corners because corners are where the issues are. And we did stretch that out when we put it on there, so let's try and get rid of the, it also looks like there's gonna be a dip. So once I get to here, it's gonna go, there's still a painted area that dips in first. So I'm gonna have to tuck it in there before I can trim it off. This is where it's good to take a picture before you put the vinyl on.
Yeah. So
you can see, oh, I can't trim yet. There's a painted area, and it'll immediately show up if I cut.
Yeah.
Oops.
Oopsie daisy.
Or whatever, there's a little light here underneath that is, you know, only in one spot, so it's gonna be different there than everywhere else. But I'm just gonna work it closer. If it gets too tight, release more tension, or I cut it. Not gonna try and force that. I can see about how far this is gonna help my trim, so I'm gonna also try to never cut straight like this. So now you have a point where it can tear. Try to do J cuts, we call them. So that way it'll stretch in that circle, but it won't necessarily rip a line.
I remember Randy saying that.
Yeah.
I like cut a line. He was like, "What are you doing?"
Because you don't know it's a problem until you try to pull on it.
He would say like half moon cut or something.
Yeah. Anything that
I do
helps.
remember